Hey guys, so this video is an introduction video to the Lipo roundup that I'm going to be doing for various 1S, 2S, and 3S micro batteries for the micro drones. And about a month ago I did a Lipo roundup for the Dust X58. I think I did like 4 Lipo batteries, or at least there's 1S batteries. And I measured things like their weight and the flight time I got on the Dust X58. And along the way, for one thing, that was a ton of work just for 4 batteries. I had to hover test all of them, and then weigh them, and then fly them around, just for 4 batteries. I actually wasn't even going to do a Lipo roundup video at all after that, because I realized that was just way too much work and I didn't have enough time to do that kind of stuff. And then I kind of ran into something by accident that made things a little bit easier in terms of figuring out which batteries are good and which batteries are not so good. And so I'm going to share this little discovery of mine and pass on some information I got. I'm not going to be doing any additional testing on top of this, because pretty much anything that you guys request is going to take a lot of time, and I don't have that, so I won't be able to do it. What I'm sharing with you is a shortcut that I discovered, and I'll just sort of explain what that is and what the basis of those Lipo roundups are going to be for the next few videos of this series, so that you understand what's going on. And so if you watched those other videos, if you didn't watch this video, obviously you'll be totally lost, and I'll explain that at the beginning of those videos to watch this one, because I don't want to repeat this one for each one of those videos, because they'll be in multiple parts. Anyway, so the shortcut that I discovered was I had these 2 batteries here. These are 2 1S. I'm sorry, these are 2 2S batteries. They're both Eachine branded. This one came with the Chaser 88, and this one came with the Aurora 100. Both 2S 7.4 volts, 450 milliamps. The Chaser 81 has an XT30 connector, and the Eachine has a JST connector. So you would think that this one here with the XT30 would be a lot better than the one with the JST. It turns out that the Eachine one, or the Eachine one, they're both the Eachine. The one with the JST connector here, the one that came with the Aurora 100, this one was much better than the 450. And the way I discovered this was by trial and error, and this is going back to what I was saying before on this stuff taking a long time to figure out, and then subsequently a shortcut that I discovered. So I was doing some testing on a really high-powered motor. It was an 1106 8000 kV motor on a 2.5-inch prop, the Rotorex 2535. This battery here, even though it had a JST connector, had an adapter that plugged into an XT30 that was on the actual quad itself. This performed totally fine. I got no brownouts, no death rolls. It was just fine, pretty good flight times. Then I went and tried this battery. This has an XT30, the quad has an XT30, and as soon as I did a punch out, I would get a flip of death. One of the ESCs would desync, and it would just fall out of the sky and crash. And I was like, well, what the hell is going on here? This has the right connector, it's got the right wire. Why is this battery causing me to crash? And this one, which supposedly should be weaker with the crappy JST connector, should not be as good. And so the thing I figured out was when I went to charge these, this little battery charger that I got here, the ISDT Q6 Plus, which, by the way, I did a review on this, and it's just a fantastic charger. Definitely recommend getting this. What this shows you is when you're charging this, it shows you the internal resistance of the battery while it's charging. And I'm not going to go into the physics and the science of all that stuff. There's other channels that will talk you to death with formulas and equations and stuff that I don't care about. And obviously the internal resistance coming out of this charger is not 100% accurate. That is a given. However, it's consistent. So every time I charge this battery, it gives me a consistent reading in terms of the internal resistance of the battery. And that's useful information, because then you can use that number to determine which ones are better and which ones are worse. And we all know that internal resistance is not good for a battery, because the higher the internal resistance, the less current output that you'll be able to get from that battery. Basically, it's like the flow of electricity is like prevented when you have a really high internal resistance. It won't let the flow of current come out of the battery. And so what I found out was that the internal resistance of this battery here, the black one, was very low. It was like around 10, and the internal resistance of this orange battery here was very high. It was around 70. And so that totally explained to me why I was getting the death rolls from this battery, because as soon as the ESCs requested the energy, it wouldn't get it. And then and all of a sudden the battery what would happen, the voltage would instantly sag, and then the whole system would just crash, and you get an EC desync, or it would just death roll. So when I made this discovery, then I said, okay, how can I find better batteries like this? And by the way, this is a pretty good battery. You know, I'm not going to tell you what's best or whatever for what I don't know what you're flying, so this might not be the best battery for you. But I found this to be a pretty good battery for my micros that are flying 2.5 inch props, like around 1104, 7500 kV, somewhere in that range. However, this I'll talk about. This will be in a later video, along with a bunch of other 2S batteries. So I used this discovery of the internal resistance to go ahead and buy a bunch of batteries and measure the internal resistance of those batteries, and then I can then rank them. And so what I'm going to do in these videos is, for the 1S, 2S, and 3S LiPos for these micro batteries, I'm going to give you the things I found about them. Now along the way, I found out some interesting things. I found out JST connectors and XT30 connectors do matter. The gauge of the wire doesn't matter as much. The length of the wire probably doesn't matter as much. But the internal resistance of the battery does matter. The C rating that's on the battery itself is completely bogus. It's just random. They just put a random number on here. What matters is the internal resistance of the battery, and it doesn't correlate to whatever the C rating is marketed for the battery. So, well, I'll get into all that later in those videos, but basically that's going to be the gist of the roundups. I'm going to show you the battery, where I got it from. By the way, the prices are always changing, so you gotta check the links anyway. And the numbers I got from this charger on the internal resistance. And for consistency, I only used this charger. I didn't use any other chargers, because I do know that each charger does sort of its own little voodoo algorithm coming up with that number. So I didn't want to like use different chargers and get different numbers, because if I charge this on a different charger and had that feature, I would get a different number. So I charged all these batteries on this particular charger. So anyway, that's going to be the basis for my roundup. I think it's useful information. It's information you can't get anywhere else, and maybe that'll help you guys determine which ones to buy. So I'll do the 1S batteries first. That's the smallest batch, and I got a huge batch of 2S batteries. That's probably gonna be like a 2 or 3 part video, and then I'll do a couple of videos on the 3S batteries. By the way, if you know of batteries that I should test or that you like, let me know in the comments below, because I'll have to go buy them if I haven't bought them already. No one is doing these kind of roundups for these micro batteries. No one is offering them in terms of like to reviewers. So I'm buying all these with my own money, and so I don't know if you're going to be able to get this information anywhere else. So hopefully you guys will watch the videos and give me a big thumbs up for all the hard work I did, and hopefully these videos will be helping you guys out.